My name is Ben with Building Code Tips, and today I'm going to walk you through what the different types of residents are. And what do I mean by that? What is a condo? What is an ADU? What is a house? What is a duplex? What is a townhouse? There's all different types of residences or types of structures in which people reside out there today that are being built. And it's probably a good idea, especially as a DIYer, if you're looking to do some type of home improvement project, or you're looking to buy and you're curious, what should I be buying? What am I getting if I buy a particular type of structure or residence? What can I expect? And so today we're just going to kind of walk through all the different scenarios and kind of give you an idea of kind of what the big differences are, so you can make the right decision. And then obviously, if you're working on a project, you can decide if it's worth the investment, if it's something worth jumping into, or if it's not. And so we'll just kind of jump in. I just grabbed a few pictures offline, and I'll just kind of show you them, and at least based on my experience as an inspector, kind of what I see for the differences. And then if you got any questions, you can definitely hit the comments below, and I'll do my best to try to answer your questions for you. So first off, single family residence. I think most everybody knows a single family residence is a house, right? It's a single dwelling on a single lot. So there's no other living quarters on that particular piece of property for a single family residence, right? There's one exception, which I will get to in a minute, but for single family residence, that's pretty much it. But the big key is that it's on a single lot, right? So when you buy the house, you're buying the property that it sits on, based on the legal description for however big the lot is or whatever, and what's on that property is then tied to that lot, right? So that would be a single family residence. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Most of us out there who are wanting to, willing or able, who've bought a house, congrats. And it's a great investment, and it's something that will grow in value as you grow. And then obviously you jump into all the fun DIY projects, right? All the renovations, all the things to keep your house up to date, and hopefully build some equity in it. So that is a single family residence. In a nutshell, that's pretty much what it is. But how does that differ from some of the other options that are out there? We have condos, we have apartments, which are usually like for rent, right? Apartments you rent. There's duplexes, there's townhouses, there's ADUs. But let's jump into some of these pictures, and I'll start working my way through it. Okay, so first off, we've got single family residence, and we've kind of already went through that in a nutshell. That's just what most people reside in, but it is changing. You get into these more dense urban areas, and you find that apartments are getting smaller. People living in smaller residences, and just everything is getting more dense, right? And so here we've got, now this could be an apartment, could be a condo. An apartment you're going to rent, a condo you're going to buy. That's kind of the difference between an apartment and a condo. But how does it differ from a house? Well, a house is on that lot, right? You're buying that property when you buy that house. When you buy a condo, you're buying the space between your walls. So the hallways, the outside, the elevators, the workout rooms, all those things are community, right? And they usually involve some type of monthly HOA fee, right? And so like the HOA fee is probably going to pay for your water, sewer, garbage, and then the upkeep for the property that the building sits on. And versus a house, right? You're in charge of all the upkeep. Depending on what kind of development you're in, newer developments have HOAs, which will kind of pay for like greenscapes and parks and stuff, and snow plowing maybe to stay up to date. But a condo, you're paying for more than just that, right? You're going to end up paying for some of those utility bills. You're going to pay for those hallways and those community spaces. Maybe there's a workout room or something like that. And you pay that extra amount in those fees, but your upkeep, your manual labor to keep it up is next to nothing, right? You're paying those fees and some maintenance person is taking care of all that. Versus a house, you're doing all that work yourself most of the time, right? You're mowing the lawn, you're going to pay your water bill, you're going to pay your power bill. Two different things, right? So if you're looking for maintenance free, condo is probably a great option. Depending on where you're at, you might get a great view. You got your own space that you own. You can decorate and do what you want with it, but at the same time, you don't have the upkeep. So now let's hop into, I've used the word ADU a little bit, accessory dwelling unit. So how does a house and an ADU come together, right? I talked about how a single lot, a single family residence would have that single residence on that lot. But what do you do if you want to create another apartment or some other type of living residence on that single property without breaking the property in half and creating another lot or another parcel? Well, what you can do is what they call an accessory dwelling unit. So it's an accessory to the single family residence. And the big difference between an ADU maybe in like an apartment or a townhouse or something like that is the fact that there's only one address typically, and all those utilities are all tied together, right? There's not usually a separate meter. There's not usually a separate sewer connection or a separate water meter. Usually like an ADU, you pull water off of your existing water that comes into your house. You connect your existing sewer stub. Usually there's like a sub panel that might come off of your existing house if you have enough amperage. If you don't, sometimes maybe there'll be a separate meter that will come in. But in general, single address, maybe an A and B unit, but a single address and mostly shared utilities. And an ADU is just that. It's an accessory dwelling unit. So you've just created another living space for somebody else on that single piece of property. And that might look something like this. So you can see here that whoever has done this, this is the house, right? This is the single family residence. This is their property. And they've gone in here and created this small living space. It's an ADU. It's separated from the house. It can be connected to the house, but there might be some rated assembly type stuff that might get kicked into effect, depending on your building department, their requirements, code requirements, how big the space is, and so on and so forth. But in general, this is an accessory dwelling unit. So this right here is, in our area, is becoming very, very, very popular. The city we live in is growing drastically. They're running out of lots. They're running out of space within the city. And so things are starting to get more dense, and the city is allowing for more of this kind of dense buildup, right? They're allowing for people who own single family residences to put in these ADUs. A lot of times you'll see like someone will build a new garage and then they'll put a living space above it. Essentially, it's an ADU, right? It's an accessory dwelling unit to that piece of property. And they've essentially created something that can generate some income. If it's a rental, it can be a space for family to stay. A lot of people call these like mother-in-law suites or in-law suites or something like that. Same basic thing. Really just comes down to terminology at that particular point. But this is an ADU. So how about duplexes, right? So you have a single family residence on a single lot, but a duplex is the same thing in essence of the property type, meaning you have one parcel, but you have two units connected together on it. And this follows the same process and the same thought process as like an ADU on a single family residence, right? You'd have the same sewer, same water, you'd have a wall, a party wall, a demising wall that separates the two units. You're probably going to have separate separate electrical meters, just simply so that tenants can pay their own electric bills. But water sewer is probably the same. and it's all on one parcel. And well, what does that mean when it's on one parcel? Well, you can't sell one unit and keep the other. It has to go together because it's one parcel. So if somebody's buying that particular parcel, they get everything that's on it. That right there is kind of the big difference between like a single family residence, a duplex, and then hopping over to from like a condo. All those things, right? Condos are on a single piece of property, and you only own the shell. Duplex is on a single property, you own both units. Single family residence is on one piece of property, you own that residence. But now you hop over to a townhouse, okay? So townhouses, this is where things get confusing for a lot of people. Is, am I building a townhouse or am I building an apartment? Well, a townhouse has its own property. You are buying the property that that townhouse sits on and that it is below it. And usually that would then come with some type of yard, maybe some upkeep, some additional HOA fees. But let's look at kind of like what a townhouse might look like. Okay, so here I've got kind of a picture of like a condo or a townhouse, right? So a townhouse might look something like this. I'm sure, you know, in any of the new cities now these days, if you've just been out and about, going through neighborhoods, and especially new development areas, you've seen these types of structures right here. Because townhouses are becoming very popular, just simply because you can own that particular piece of property, you can own that unit, but they're stacked right next to each other, and so you're getting, you know, as a developer, you're getting bang for your buck, right? So this particular unit is one unit, that's a unit, this is a unit, and so on and so forth. And I've seen them stacked, you know, 15, 20 units in a row, right? Just bang, 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 bang. And they call it a zero lot line. And what a zero lot line is between the two rated walls, the separation walls, usually there's two of them, or one that's like really, really protected for fire protection. Right down the center of it is the property line. And so from one side of that wall is someone's property and the other side is someone else's property. So you can sell and buy one specific unit. You know, a condo, you don't own the ground below it. Now you can buy what's inside the four walls, but you can't buy the ground that it sits on. So if you're someone that likes to own a little bit of property, you know, and kind of control your own destiny per se within your own property, well, a townhouse might be the way to go versus a condo. I would assume that the HOA fees would be a little lower on a townhouse, just simply because you don't have all that common space that you're having to pay to upkeep. But that is a big difference, right? That's the fact that you can actually buy that unit and you own the dirt below it is really important, right? And it's a very big change between a condo or a duplex, right? Because a duplex, you're buying both units. Again, you can't just buy one. You can't split it up like you can a townhouse. So here is just another shot of like an ADU. Here is like a garage with a living space that's above it. Just as another example of what an ADU might be. Here is, you know, maybe another example of, you know, apartments or condos. You know, they're kind of the same in essence. I worked for a developer that would build apartments, but they'd build them so that after 10 years, they could add addresses to each unit and sell them off as condos, right? They built them like an apartment. They've gotten the rental out of them, and then they have them set up so that, boom, now they have an investment that they can sell off in pieces and get out of the development and get out of the investment and provide some more living space for people to actually own. So it's a pretty cool process. And especially for first-time home buyers or looking for something cheaper in the market, condo could be a great place to start, get you out of the apartment world, get you into ownership, and then hopefully build yourself up and get into that single-family residence or townhouse or whatever it is that you're looking for. So as a quick recap, we kind of talked about all the different types of residences, right? We got a single-family residence, we got the ADU that can be built next to, under, on the same property as that single family residence. We've got a duplex, which would be 2 units on a single lot. We've got condos, which condos are built on like a single lot, but you own what's inside those 4 walls or 5 walls, I guess, you know, whatever's inside your unit there. Apartments, you're just going to rent, right? It's same thing. It's on a single lot, but you can't buy that unit. You can rent it, but you can't buy that particular unit. And that would be more as a condo, right? Then we've got townhouses as well. So townhouses is kind of the big one. And when we get into code books and stuff, that's where things get confusing for us as inspectors and for building departments, because it depends on how many units there are, how tall is it. There's all these different things that come into effect. But the big thing is do you own the ground below you? And if you do, and if there is a property line, you own a townhouse. That's what you bought. You own that property and it is yours. You can sell it at any time, and you're not tied to any other requirements as far as being able to sell that particular piece of property and the structure that's on it. The only difference is between a single family residence and a townhouse is you're just connected together. You have what they call a zero lot line. Otherwise, it's essentially the same thing. You just have really, really close neighbors, which for some of you, that might be great. For others, you know, maybe you want a little more space. So you get out there and get into that single family residence and give yourself a little bit more room to roam, or have a place for that dog to go run around in the backyard. Hit the comments below if you got any questions. I'll do the best I can to answer them. And, you know, once you get into this, maybe you already have a residence, maybe you're looking for an investment, and you're going to get into some DIY projects. My whole reason for building code tips was to create a space and an information for DIYers like yourselves to get through your projects. And so I've created a free before you get started checklist. It's for all DIYers out there. We're going to be doing improvements on whatever residence they have. You just want to make sure you're thinking about those different questions, the different materials, what you're going to need to get started, so that you just don't have all those hiccups or all those problems getting started out of the gate. It's free. Just go to buildingcodetips.com and you know, check out the freebies, and we'll send it on over to you, and hopefully it'll help you get started the right way.